Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Hello, my name is Terry Foster, and I'm the founder of the Fractional Council. And one of my goals is to educate as many business owners as possible about the power of tapping into fractional leadership professionals to help grow and scale their business. And one of those ways to doing that is by having just open and honest conversations, such as the one that I'm about to have with our very special guest, Jon Cumberworth. So, if you're a business owner that has ever wondered what is a fractional, if potentially bringing on a fractional COO makes sense for your business, then you're definitely in the right place. So, you're in for a treat. So, let me give you a quick intro to Jon, and then we're going to bring in our special guest. So, Jon is based in Austin, Texas, and he is an efficiency and leadership development expert for small to medium sized businesses. His main focus is helping businesses define and implement frameworks and systems that help them create a culture to achieve the revenue, profit, and leadership development goals. With over 19 years of experience in international and domestic business operations and leadership, Jon is grateful for the opportunities he has had to achieve success in his roles in multiple industries. His accomplishments range from working his way up in a global sales team to become general manager in Dubai for an 8-figure steel supply and manufacturing business to negotiating the successful acquisition of a bootstrap company that he co-founded. So lots of experience. I'm going to bring Jon up to the stage.
Hey,
Jon,
Terry.
come on, man.
How are you?
Good, good. How you doing today?
Good. Glad to be here, man.
Absolutely. So thrilled that you're here. So pumped about this conversation. It's definitely one that needs to be had. And, just thank you in advance for your time. We're definitely looking forward for this. So quite the introduction. So lots of experience. So like with that vast experience, and guys, we're just going to hop right into it. We know that time is valuable. So I know we're going to get to the stuff that you guys want to hear and kind of cut out the fluff. So I hope you guys are okay with that. So with your vast experience, can you take us through your thought process around going all in on the fractional route?
Yeah. So with after the selling of the business and kind of leaving the company that acquired my business that I co-founded, I did kind of a deep dive into what gave me energy, and I looked at my career over the years, what I'd done, even going as far back in the past to my athletic career in college and high school. And I found that helping business owners and business leaders identify problems or opportunities in their companies and helping them solve those problems. I always enjoyed that in the businesses I worked in. And then in entrepreneur groups, I really enjoyed it. And so I kind of looked at, if I had that person next to me as well in my bootstrap company, helping me execute. We weren't in a position to hire a full-time person, but I would have loved to have had a fractional COO or somebody to help me execute on my vision, so I wasn't having to wear all the hats all the time. So I love helping business owners.
That makes a lot of sense. Definitely a lot of gems in that. Business owners are always kind of wearing multiple hats, and it's really tough to do, especially when you're talking about from a strategic perspective. It can just become really, really overwhelming. So makes a lot of sense for sure. So like you personally, kind of like what would you describe as your superpower? Because I know there's different CEOs that handle lots of different things, but kind of like what's your sweet spot and what would you consider to be your biggest superpower?
Yeah. So growing up as an Army brat, I moved all over the place. So I was very adaptive. And then being, again, an athlete, being a part of a team, I understood different roles and how to be collaborative. So I think my superpower is building those collaborative teams and through systems processes to help that collaboration and help people go from working in multiple divisions and doing their own thing in their bubbles and their silos in a company to rowing in one direction. I think it's something that takes intentionality and systems and processes in place. But I also look at it through a supply chain type of a lens. Wearing all the different hats in businesses, I understand how marketing affects sales and how it affects finance and how all of that affects operations. So really building the culture and building collaborative teams and helping companies kind of put that in place.
Cool, man. And what sport did you play?
I played basketball. Yeah.
Okay. What position?
Two guard. Couldn't dribble, but I could shoot it. That's about it.
All right. Yeah. If you can shoot, you're good.
Yep.
Nice. So, what are some of the common operational challenges that you've encountered when working with small businesses? And like as a fractional COO, how did you help them overcome those obstacles?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is just clarity, clarity in their
Mhm.
business. So you've got the owner or the leader knows what they want. They're just not able to articulate it clearly on a daily basis. And so you've got teams that are doing their thing or employees that are doing their thing and think they're adding to the cause essentially, but they're not really sure which way to go. They're not sure if they are meeting metrics and hitting that those objectives that are in the owner's mind. So it's really creating that clarity at the top level. What's the vision for the company? But then also, what's the vision and the clarity for each person in their day-to-day roles? How can they work towards that big picture? So it's really a strategic planning aspect. So I've helped companies put in that planning kind of rhythm. So it works from an annual planning and annual goals and objectives, quarterly, monthly, down to weekly,
Mhm.
and even down to the one-on-ones with team members. So everybody's working in the same direction and everybody kind of knows where they stand from a metric standpoint and how to hit those goals. So I think one of the biggest things is creating that strategic objective clarity in a business. Kind of that said, rolls into the efficiency part. So you've got the blocking and tackling. So it's like, okay, you've got AP and AR and invoicing. How can I help the vision in that department? And it's, if you're doing data entry all day long, you're not really doing a lot of value added work potentially. So I've helped businesses put in systems and processes to automate or outsource a lot of the data entry. One in particular was able to save about 30 hours per month just from creating invoices and tracking payments and going the old way of sending a client a PDF with a credit card form to fill out. So not very secure. So getting things, technology like Stripe and things implemented. So helping them on the day to day so that they're not bogged down in kind of the minutia and are able to help create more value, talking to customers, talking to vendors, creating relationships. So um, there's byproducts of that efficiency right off the bat. Um, those are two of the kind of bigger ones. I think inventory as well, identifying inventory. And this is where my sales experience has helped out. You can have things on the shelf. If they're not selling, you either need to get rid of them or restock the things that are selling. So doing that inventory analysis, identifying A items, identifying the things that move the most, and identifying missed opportunities as well. So do you have the right stuff that you're selling on the product side? Restocking, stocking new items, and then getting rid of things that don't move. And so that can help you on the revenue growth side, but also, and more importantly, on margin and EBITDA in the end, having the right stuff to sell.
Definitely speaking my language for sure. So, I mean, you mentioned like team, of course, kind of often there. Like, so to make use of like a COO, does someone have to have like a really big team for it to make sense? Are these just for like giant businesses, or like
Yeah,
what does
great
that look
question.
like?
They don't have to have a big team. So I have experience in the corporate world, but also bootstrapping with a team of 4 or 5 people. So really, it's identifying, can the owner identify departments and roles, and that could be one person could be in 2 different departments or 2 different roles essentially. So creating that org chart, you can put the same name in a few different places, but that'll help you scale and identify, okay, if this person works themselves out of this one role because of growth, boom, you need a full-time person in that position. So a fractional COO can come in and help with that. So I think scaling problems where the owner doesn't know how to scale and want to go to that next level, so to speak, they're not sure how to scale, that
Mhm.
type of a thing where they don't need a big team, but can start putting the systems and processes and set up in place to allow them to grow.
Absolutely. Cool. So I'm sure that there's people tuning in or that's going to be watching a replay and they may be wondering, like, does a fractional COO make sense for them where they're at currently? So in your experience, what do you believe are some of like the biggest telltale signs that they should consider bringing in a fractional COO?
Yes, I think that the first one that I mentioned is scaling issues. I think the second one is going to be a financial, not strain, but maybe limitation. And I was in this position as well with a business of mine where you don't have the capital, the cash, the equity to give out. You don't need a full-time person cost wise to where you don't have to pay that high salary, benefits, bonuses, but you still need that expertise in leadership. So capital can be something that you can maintain within the business, but still not have to shell out for a full-time person. I think the other thing is if you're making high stakes decisions, if you've got a transition, maybe you're a business owner that's like, I want to sell in the next 2 to 3 years, but I've been doing this for 20 years and I don't know how to I don't know how to get myself out. My kids don't want my business, that type of thing. How do I get myself out of it? So it's a transition or maybe, acquiring a company, and it's a big decision, but can utilize somebody with experience and expertise on a part-time level. I think the other thing is another sign would be a leadership gap where you've got a good leadership team, maybe a great sales leader, a great finance leader, but you need somebody in operations to help out. But again, it's not a full-time deal. You just need someone to fill that gap, or maybe someone left your business and you don't have time to rehire and go through that whole process, and you need somebody on the interim side to kind of fill that gap. So I think those signs, scaling problems or questions, leadership gaps, financial reasons, and then the kind of the high stakes decision making, as well as trying to reach that potential where you can do more as a business owner and as a company, but you're not sure how exactly to do that.
That makes sense. So I definitely think that a big mistake that business owners make is like they try to, even though they really don't have the budget, they may try to squeeze in hiring like a full-time COO or
Yep.
CMO. So can you talk to me, like, when does hiring like a full-time COO make sense? Is that based upon like revenue? So like obviously it varies, but it's like if they're doing 25 million and up, they probably should consider a full-time COO, or is it if they have like 50 employees, maybe they should consider a full-time? Because I know a lot of times businesses hire a full-time COO, but they don't even have like enough resources to keep that
Yeah.
person actually busy for that
Yeah.
amount of time. So what's your thought process on that?
Yeah, it's definitely a question on the ROI, just like any other position in a business, I would say. So there's no set like, okay, once you hit 15 million, go get them. And so it's risk tolerance as well. If you're a business owner or leader, and you may not know how to manage a COO, or you're like, I don't know what a COO would do necessarily. Like, what would the job description be? What would the benefits be? Start with a fractional. It's less risk, lower cost. You can kind of like, try it out before you buy it for the most part. And so I think once you can prove out the efficiency gains, the culture improvement, lower turnover, things like that a COO can provide through having more alignment within a business, or more, just growing that positive culture. I think at that point you can start to say, yes, I'm ready for a full-time. And the beauty of a fractional is like, I'm successful when I work myself out of a job, right? Like if I do so well that the business is moving and operating and growing, and they're like, yeah, we need a full-time Jon. Awesome. I'll help you find him or her and train them up, and then be on my way, and you guys can keep on moving.
Absolutely, for sure. So operations is such like a critical part of like all businesses, but I feel like since it isn't as like sexy or glamorous as say like sales or marketing, that it often goes overlooked. And I think that's one of the main reasons why businesses have trouble growing and scaling, especially like from 7 to 8 figures. So I'm assuming that I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but would love to hear your take on that and why you believe that's the case, that kind of like operations seem to get overlooked.
Yeah, and I've been in that position as a business owner myself, where it's like I've got to sell, I've got to get revenue and get going. But once you do hit a certain point, you start to realize, oh man, I didn't build this on a great foundation, and
Mm,
you're going to start to see issues either through, if you don't have the right systems and processes in place, you will start to see turnover in employees. You'll start to see customer churn, customer satisfaction reduce. There's multiple ways it will manifest itself, but um, I think it, like you said, it's just not as glamorous, and it's behind the scenes, and it's also not as, I don't want to say the word tangible, but when you talk about building culture, it's a little touchy feely, and it's not like, oh, I improved culture by 3% this week. Right? It's hard. You can't put a metric on it for the most part, so it's not as easily digested and analyzable, if that's a word, from a business owner standpoint. So it's like, yeah, you pull a lever, leads go up, success. Um, Culture is more of a feel and that type of a thing. So efficiency, you can definitely see it in EBITDA, in margin, in cost reduction. And that's definitely part of what I do as well. And what fractional COOs do is identify opportunities to reduce costs, streamline, make things more efficient. So um, those are sexy to me, cost
yeah,
reduction, right?
right. That's always sexy. So this one's going to probably be a little tough, and it's kind of a blanket approach. But for the people kind of tuning in from an operational perspective, do you have any kind of like tips or things that they could implement right away to see like an increase in those areas?
Yeah, I think the first part is understanding, especially as an owner or a leader, understanding what your vision is and understanding where you're going, because you can't tell people where to go and how to go if you don't know yourself. So figure that out, spend time on it if you don't know already. And the where you go doesn't have to be like, oh, 5 million to 10 million. It's more like, why do you exist? Why does your company exist? What's the benefit? I know a lot of people now, employees, the younger generation, not me. I've got the gray beard, so maybe not me, but they want to feel fulfilled, right? They want to go with purpose. They want to work with purpose, and it doesn't have to be this massive, we're going to cure cancer every day type of a purpose,
Right.
but it has to be clear. And so that's, for me, the biggest kind of tip as a business owner and entrepreneur is understanding what you are trying to build and where you're trying to go. From there, one thing that I've always, as a bootstrap business owner, I was forced to do this, but it was, okay, we're building a new software platform. You're supposed to hire designers to build wireframes. You're supposed to do this. You're supposed to do that. And it's going to be 30 grand. Like, okay, well, I don't have 30 grand. So I'm going to use PowerPoint and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to figure out a different way to make it happen. And an hour later, I've got your wireframe. Can you make it look like this? So
Right.
there's multiple ways to do things. And I think if you have, it doesn't have to be always cheap, cheap, cheap bootstrap mentality, but it's about ROI, and is where you're going to spend your time. Is that going to give you the most ROI? So a little bit broad there, but
No, that's good.
yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So yeah, hopefully people are definitely paying attention because that is wise advice. So why is helping businesses grow and scale personally meaningful to you? Like I believe that everyone's kind of like in a fractional role. A lot of times it's because they really just have a love and passion for helping, small to medium sized businesses. So like for you, what does it mean personally, like when you're helping these businesses
Yeah.
just grow and scale?
So I've been the benefit of the benefactor. I've had the benefit of having clarity in not only my business, but my vision, my role. And also I've been kind of on the other side of, you kind of been the victim of a gray unsure about where we're going, unsure about what I'm doing. And I think having seen both sides, and I've worked with entrepreneurs and helped them identify that clarity and then start to develop, okay, what are the opportunities we're seeing? Okay, how can we get there? Seeing that, like, I've been there, that like light up moment of like, holy smokes, now I get it. It takes away that feeling of every day waking up and going, all right, what am I doing today? Am I helping? I don't feel fulfilled. It's not fun. So when you
Right.
have that clarity and clearness of not just where you're going, but like what I'm doing today and what my team is doing without having to reinvent the wheel every week on a new system and process, like to me, that is massive. And just sitting with entrepreneurs and helping them go through that and seeing that like weight kind of come off of them, like, oh man, this seems so simple,
Right.
but
Right.
he's like, why didn't I do this before? But it takes that intentionality. And so I think, I love the idea of using my experience and the lessons I've learned over 20 years to help others either avoid mistakes or just, benefit from that experience and help them grow.
Awesome. Awesome. So the people that are in the fractional community, we understand the power of fractional leadership. The businesses that have actually tapped into it, they understand the power, but we have a lot of work to do. And like I said in the beginning, one of the reasons why we're doing these conversations is really just to try to educate as many people as possible around like the power of fractionals. So, in your opinion, um, there's misconceptions around fractionals. There's a bit of ignorance. Like, what do you think is needed just to just let more businesses know that we're here to help them and they don't have to wait until they have a budget for a full-time COO or CMO? Like, what's your thoughts on like what needs to be done to close that gap?
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, it's going to take trying a fractional out, first and foremost, like taking that action. I've had multiple people say, "Oh, well, you're just like a consultant." It's like, yeah, that kind of, sort of, but I will actually help implement as well. And I know some consultants can do that, but it's being that integrator. It's coming in and identifying the problems and opportunities, prioritizing them, and then actually being on site fractionally, of course, to help implement. So it's not that coaching of here's your plan and system, I'll see you next month, and yell at you when you didn't implement it because you didn't have time or know what to do. So for me, I think it's really just like pulling the trigger and saying, hey, I'm going to give this a try. It's a lot less risky than hiring someone full time. It takes a lot less time. Um,
Yes.
and man, if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. And most of the fractionals are like, I want to add value. If I'm not adding value, then we'll part ways, all good. But I think it's going to be folks trying it more often and it just becoming more of the way we do business, right?
Cool, cool, cool. Awesome, man. So, is there anything that we haven't touched on in this discussion, or that I haven't asked you that you want the audience to know or hear?
That's a great question. I'm always like so humble that I'm like, nope, I'm good. That's enough. Um, I think as a business owner, and I guess it's not really a question, more of a comment coming from me, but
Yeah.
I was in that place too, and it's like just kind of get out of your own way, and just understand what you don't know and what your strengths are not, and if you can find people that can fill those gaps, it's tough at first, but then it's amazing. Like there's a little bit of a learning curve, like even efficiency, be open to new tech. You put it in, your team's like, oh, this is worse than it was before. It's
Right.
taking you 30 seconds longer to do this. And it's like, no, trust me, down the line, you're going to save hours and hours and you're going to be so much happier. So just push past that initial like feeling of fighting change. It'll be worth it in the long run. So
Good stuff. Good stuff, man. Jon, this has been awesome. Definitely enlightening and definitely valuable insights that you dropped. So I really, really appreciate you taking the time to be here to share this information, to drop these gems. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah. Thank you, Terry. Glad to be here, man.
Absolutely. So I know some of you may be wondering how Jon can help your business grow and scale. If that's the case, if you know after this conversation that at least the conversation makes sense for you at this time, go ahead and shoot me a DM or email me at terry@finderfractional.com and let me know that you're interested in speaking with Jon, and we'll make that connection happen. Or alternately, if you want to tap into the power of strategic leadership to kind of like try it, then the Fractional Council offers a service where we help you solve your biggest strategic problem at no cost. So imagine having 8 to 10 people as smart as Jon helping you with a business problem, whether it's marketing, sales, operations, financials, or teams. So very, very great way to experience the power of what that strategic leadership can mean for your business. If you're interested in that, go to www.finderfractional.com to learn more about that offer. So again, thank you, Jon. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you found this valuable. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments. That's all I have. Thank you again, Jon. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, take care.